Thank you, Poe, and thank you, Dr. Harrison, for this opportunity. To the Columbus State Community College family, to our guests, and to our friends, we have come here today to celebrate the accomplishments of our students, and they are worthy of celebration. In addition to the skills, knowledge, and abilities acquired in their individual plans of study, they have also learned to communicate effectively, to think critically, and they have learned and come to know the importance of civic and social responsibility. It is this last construct that I would like to talk about just for a few moments: civic and social responsibility. The word responsibility can be defined as simply responding to one's ability. But who will take responsibility for the problems of the 21st century? We see and have perhaps experienced the pain of home foreclosures, exhausted unemployment benefits, deployments to Iraq, Afghanistan, and Pakistan. We hear and feel the anger of the debates involving national debt, taxes, and an ever-shrinking middle class, and lament that somebody ought to do something. We see closed factories and opened prisons, and we declare that somebody ought to do something. We see 14 million Americans unemployed, and we demand somebody ought to do something. The great philosopher Voltaire said that no snowflake in an avalanche ever feels responsible. We often feel that we are too little to address any issue greater than our individual needs, too unlikely to be able to make any significant difference in our environment, and simply too limited in our ability to address the great issues of the day. But you see, the issue is this country has always faced monumental challenges where it would seem like the task in front of us was greater than the talent that resided within us. November 19th, 1863, President Abraham Lincoln stands on a blood-soaked battlefield that had just 4 months earlier witnessed the most horrific battle the world had ever seen. For it was on the fields of Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, that some 50,000 soldiers were killed, wounded, or reported missing in action. The president, discouraged, despondent, and no doubt depressed beyond words, asked the question that has been raised throughout the history of this great democracy. And I quote, "Now we are engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation or any nation so conceived and so dedicated can long endure." Can we survive? Can we go another year? Can we go another decade? How can a country that would kill 620,000 of its young men on the battlefields of an uncivil war yet survive? How could a nation where neighbor was fighting against neighbor, where brother fought against brother, hope to endure? How could a nation that had judged men not by the content of their character, but by the color of their skin, hope to endure? Yes, this nation has always faced challenges. Some 70 years later, another president facing yet another national crisis would answer the question posed by Lincoln. On a cold inaugural day, with the country firmly entrenched in the depths of the Great Depression, with no unemployment insurance, no welfare, no Medicaid, no Medicare, Franklin Delano Roosevelt boldly answered the question that Lincoln had posed, and he said, "This nation shall endure as it always has endured." You see, it seems that each century is presented with challenges that would cause many to say something ought to be done. But in each century, some have stood up and taken hold of that civic and social responsibility and said, "I will make a difference." It might have been a John Smith or a George Washington, a Frederick Douglass, a Lincoln, a Roosevelt, a King, or a Kennedy. It might have been a Gates, but somebody has stood up and said, "I will make a difference. I will do what is necessary to affect this nation." And look at our brief history shows that many have given much to make sure that this country will yet endure. I'm reminded of a story from the play The Meeting by Jeff Stetson. Jeff Stetson talks about a young Southern country preacher who wanted to go north to seek his fame and fortune. And he goes north, and sure enough, he is very successful. Some years pass, and the little church that he grew up in sends for him to come back and speak for an anniversary. Well, he's pleased to do so, but he decides to take his 10-year-old son to show his little son his roots and where he came from. The day comes for the anniversary sermon, and he proceeds to give one of the finest speeches of his life. He has the congregation moving from one emotion to another. After the sermon, the pastor comes up and says, "John, that was truly a moving sermon. We wish we had some money to give you, but as you can see, we're just a little congregation." John said, "Don't worry about it. Just coming here was thanks enough." He takes his son by the hand, and they begin to walk out of the church when he notices a little box, an offering box. He takes a crisp $10 bill out of his pants pocket, and he places it in the offering. He looks at his son and he says, "Son, see, what I'm trying to teach you is that even when you don't get, it's good to give." He starts to walk down, he starts to walk out, and as he's walking to his car, the pastor comes running and says, John, wait, we can't let you leave without giving you some token of our appreciation." And with that, he puts a crisp $10 bill in his hand, which John readily recognizes that's the bill I just put in the offering box. He takes his son and they sit in the car, but before he starts the car, he looks at his son, says, "Son, I hope this has taught you something." And his son says, "Yes, Dad, it has. If you had given more, you would have gotten more." If you had given more. You see, we might all have to give more if this great nation is to endure than we ever thought possible. There are 3 reasons why I believe that you are uniquely able and capable and perhaps even responsible to give more. 1, you have been prepared. It has been said that there are 2 types of people in the world, thermostats and thermometers. Dr. Harrison, a thermometer is useful for telling you what the temperature is. If the temperature is cold, the thermometer will tell you that it's cold. If the temperature is hot, the thermometer will tell you, yeah, it's hot. But if you want to adjust the temperature, you need a thermostat. For you see, a thermostat can go into any room and actually change the climate. In the workplace, in our neighborhoods, in our schools, in our religious institutions, we have too many thermometers. People who are willing to declare what is wrong, what needs to be fixed, and what is simply outrageous. In a time of crisis, we need more thermostats. Individuals who have the ability to solve problems, not just identify them. You have been prepared because you have been prepared to think critically, communicate effectively, and to own social responsibility. You have been prepared to be thermostats. But not only have you been prepared, you have been positioned. If the world's population of just under 7 billion people were condensed down to a village of 100 people, only one of those people would have a college degree. And the village would expect that one person to be a problem solver. Your present degree, and for many of you, the future degrees that you will earn, will position you with an advantage in the workplace. And while your accomplishments may open doors for you, it is your ability to make a difference that will ultimately lead to your success and to the success of the organizations you serve. Yes, you have been positioned to make a difference. And finally, I will take my seat as I suggest to you that you have also been empowered. You've been prepared. You've been positioned, but you've been empowered. Your empowerment does not only rest in the paper that will boldly proclaim you as a graduate of the Columbus State Community College. No, your empowerment is rooted in a document penned over 200 years ago. Your empowerment originates in the words of that uniquely American document that so eloquently proclaims, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, and among these rights are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." And here it is, whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right, and I would suggest the responsibility, of the people to alter or abolish it. Yes, you have been prepared, you've been positioned, and you've been empowered to make a difference. We heard some stories today of some of you, and I don't know where your individual paths will take you, but I do know this. The occupants of this auditorium and those sitting on the stage believe in you. They believe that you will make a difference. They believe that you have the ability to do so. And so I will leave you with the words of the poet Burton Braley. And Burton Braley simply said that if you want a thing bad enough to go out and fight for it, bad enough to work day and night for it, to give up your time and your peace and your sleep for it, if all life seems empty and useless without it, and all that you dream and you scheme is about it, if you will gladly sweat for it, fret for it, plan for it, lose all fear of opposition for it, if you will simply go after that thing that you want with all of your capacity, strength, and sagacity, faith, hope, and confidence, stern pertinacity, if neither cold poverty, famished and gaunt, nor sickness, nor pain of body or brain can turn you away from that thing that you want, if dogged and grim you besiege and beset it with the help of God, my friend, you'll get it because you've been empowered, you've been positioned, and you've been prepared. God bless you.